When we look at finance and we look at Rachel Reeves and the personalities involved in government and in politics generally, it's very easy to forget about the human cost and the human element to all of this. The essence of success in the UK is becoming a dim light in the distance. It's becoming harder to be successful in the UK, particularly with all of the taxes that are going on. And I've got two clips here which is going to perfectly highlight what I'm talking about. Now, these two people I've got here, both young people and both successful people, I would say. One of them is a gentleman who runs his own business and who tells you exactly what he thinks about the current state of play, given what he knows about business and everything else. And I've also got a young lady who works for a tech company in London who's going to give you her opinion on what it's like to live on a six-figure salary, both her and her partner, and her inability to forge a life for herself, which is quite incredible when you stand back and look at it like that.
So it's the first time I've done anything like this, a video. I saw a guy on YouTube last week. It was pretty raw. He spoke about the country's problems. He had a little bit of a rant. And I saw this video and I thought more people need to speak out about stuff like this. I mean, me, personally, I'm a self-employed renderer. I render houses. I know tons of trades guys, electricians, plumbers, scaffolders, joiners, and everybody's just having the same problems. Since COVID, everything has just gone up in price, which is crazy. We had a good year last year and we gave everything back in tax. Everything back in tax. And it's just crap. It is just crap. I know a lot of people. A lot of people have just had enough. They're just sick of it. I mean, I look at it like this. I just think, what is the point? What is the point in going to work every single day when you're not having anything to show for it? I'm just sick of it. Just sick of it. I mean, luckily, we live on the east coast of Lincolnshire, so it's nice and quiet. You don't get bombarded by police and speed cameras and everything else. But I had another job a couple of years ago, and it involved me running up and down the country. And 7 or 8 fines I got in 1 year. 1 year. Just bus lane fines, ULEZ cameras in London. I don't even live in London. Just everywhere, there's someone there just trying to take money off you. We sat down the other night and looked at the gas and electric bill. I mean, we was looking at 8 years ago. We was paying £30 a month. Could be £40 a month. Now we're paying nearly £400 a month in gas and electric. £400 a month. What's going on? What's happening? You know, how can we afford to live? I've got friends who have just managed to get on the housing ladder, and they're paying £1,800 a month for the mortgage. £1,800 a month, and I just think, where does it end? Where does it end? There's talks about putting the council tax up. There's talks again about putting the gas and electric up. When does it get to the point where people just say, enough's enough, we're not paying it anymore?
Now, as I've said before on this channel, I run a small business with my good wife, and we've run that business for several years, and I can completely 100% relate to what this gentleman is saying. There is a pervasive feeling everywhere that there's always somebody just lurking round the corner who's wanting to take you for a few more pounds. But the regulations that are continually being put onto you is unreal. Last year, I received an email out of the blue telling me that there was a new regulatory body that had been installed by the government just to protect people, and their function in life is to charge me £400 a year so they can regulate the industry a little bit better. So they're going to charge me a few £100 every year. And of course, after I called them and found out what they did, their function in life is to generate an annual invoice and come up with new ideas. And guess what happens when these people come up with new ideas? They make it harder for you to run the business, that's right. And so every year there's more and more of these costs being heaped onto businesses. Every year there's more and more regulations, not the least of which I might add, which is this new employment rights bill. And I have to get down on my knees and thank somebody somewhere for the fact that I don't employ people. As such, it's myself and my wife that run our business, and I'm very lucky that I don't have to actively employ other people, because if I had to employ other people, then I would be especially worried about the current state of the economy and this new employment rights bill, which is essentially going to hamstring all of the employers and in essence put people off from hiring new people, and that's going to have a very, very adverse effect on the jobs market. But you know what this gentleman was saying there was 100% correct. There is a feeling out there in business of what's the point?
So let me get this straight. There is an employment crisis, a housing crisis, cost of living crisis, brink of war, a population crisis because no one's having kids anymore. I wonder why. And yet we need to stop eating avocados and work a little bit harder. I don't know anyone my age at this point that isn't exploring some kind of side hustle or investments. If you don't have an additional stream of income or investments and wealth accruing somewhere, it is not possible anymore to even participate in society in the way that we used to. Obviously, no one's having kids. No one can afford anything. Now in the UK, once you start earning over £125,000 a year, you make 29 pence. 29 pence on every pound you make after that point. Less than 1/3 on top of that you keep. And that's not including costs and bills. That's just taxed. You know, there's this whole thing of the Henrys, the high earners, not rich yet groups of people that live in cities and are making like extremely high salaries and in theory making a lot of money, but basically have none because of how expensive it is to live in the cities. But they're the only places that you can get those kinds of salaries. Meanwhile, the billionaires are taking £1, $1 salaries so that they don't have to pay income tax, borrowing against the assets they already own because they bought up all the houses in this country, so we can't have them, and then just being like, you guys need to work harder, while they're also taking our jobs and giving them over to AI that is not smarter than a human yet. What is this generation supposed to do? Like, I'm asking seriously, what are we supposed to do? Unless I can figure out 50 million different ways to have side hustles, there is no way to do this anymore. Plus the fact that the UK especially is wanting to tax us to the eyeballs on everything. You can't even sell stuff online anymore for over £1,000 before you get taxed on it. They want access to our bank account so they can tax us on the interest over a certain rate. People are opting for lower salaries because eventually the tax outweighs it and it's actually less lucrative to earn certain amounts of money. Then you wonder why no one's having children. I hear one more person blame this on immigrants. I'm going to lose my mind. Obviously enough wealth in the world, because while most people are getting poorer, we have the largest number of billionaires we've ever had. I'm a high-skilled worker that's been working in tech for 9 years, and I can't get a job right now. Referral? Nothing. With tailored CVs? Nothing. The right kind of niche experience? Nothing. How do we correct this? Because I actually look at my future at this point and I don't really know what I'm supposed to be gearing towards. I want to have kids. I want to have a family. I also want to build cool shit and have a good life. Not exuberant. I think pretty low-key things. I want to have a family. I want to be able to travel with my family. I want to have a house that fits our needs. And I want to make sure I can take care of my children. That's not a lot to ask for. But here we are. I've been working since I was 17 years old. This is the only time I've ever had a stint of unemployment like this. So if anyone tells me to work harder, I worked myself into a high-paying industry with no degree and barely finishing school because of a mental health crisis. And now I'm broke. I have no wealth. I'm 30 years old. I did everything right. I've been paying into pensions. I've been paying into my national insurance. I've been paying my tax. What are we supposed to do? Even on nearly a 3-figure salary, I still can't afford to buy a house. I'm from London and this is my home, and I'm aware that London is the worst of it, but this is my home. I'm gonna have to leave. I'm gonna be pushed out of my own home. I just swear to God, if I hear one more boomer tell me to work harder and just pull my socks up and get on with it, this is not the same world that you guys came up in. You could afford houses on minimum wage. We can't afford houses on dual incomes of 3-figure salaries. The system is not in our favour. It never was.
Now let's get the obvious thing out of the way first of all. Yeah, there was a bit of a whinge in there, and boo-hoo for you. And although she's progressing this narrative here and telling us all about her woes, it's kind of hard to have sympathy for a household in the UK that's been earning up to £250,000 every year. She obviously knows about the 29p income tax that happens. So she's been receiving a good salary for an extended amount of time. And granted, it is in London, so costs are sky high, rents are sky high and everything else. But really, you know, the thing to bear in mind with that is if you're not able to make it where you are, then you move. You go somewhere where you can make it. And this is just part of the London-centric problem. On the one hand, you've got Sadiq Khan here talking about more social housing for people and turning London into an effective slum, while there is 10 cities now appearing all over the more well-heeled parts of London. And people are definitely not liking it, and I find that largely hilarious. And even within this young lady here, you might have caught, oh, well, if somebody tells me it's all of the immigrants' fault, I'm gonna, scream or whatever it is. Nobody says all of the problems in society are related to immigrants, but some of the problems are, namely pressure on public services, housing, etc., pressure on the economy. So it does have an impact. And it's quite funny that obviously this young lady is a liberal. And you can tell by some of the things that she said. And even when reality meets, even when this lady is confronted with the absolute truth, that part of the reason why she's having a problem is because of migration, she refuses to accept it. And this AI revolution that young lady has experienced is happening everywhere. And this general destruction, this creative destruction of jobs that is happening, the government are not doing anything about it. They're talking about helping people and compassion and empathy, little realizing that you can have all the compassion, empathy and love for humanity that you want, but if there's no jobs for people and people can't go to work, then they get very angry very quickly. And when it starts to spread throughout society, not just with this lady here on £100,000 a year job, or the gentleman before that who runs his own rendering business, and I'm sure they're both all right at the moment, but when it starts to hit normal people on a mass scale, we are going to have a huge problem, because the saying goes, people don't sit at home and starve to death. They don't do that. They hit the streets. And I think we are in for some tumultuous times ahead and some very worrying times, because this government, all they're doing is talking about helping people. There's no talk about the destruction that's happening in the jobs market everywhere, and it's astounding to me, and it's very worrying at the same time. Thanks very much for your time. I always appreciate it.